Let us learn about cell wall in this video. To make our understanding easy, we will divide the topic into different subheads. Like, we'll start with introduction to cell wall, the general structure of the cell wall, ultrastructure of the cell wall, chemical composition, and functions of the cell wall. Under these heads, we will be learning. Cell wall is one of the important characteristic features of the plant cells. That is, it is unique to plant cells. It is not seen in the animal cells. That is the basic difference between an animal and a plant cell. All the cells of the plant are enclosed within a complex wall which is made up of polysaccharides. It is a primary source of cellulose. Cell wall is the primary source of cellulose and is the most abundant biopolymer on the earth. It not only strengthens the plant body but has a very important role in plant growth, cell differentiation, intercellular communication, water movements, defense mechanism of the plant. It is seen in all the cells of a plant except in lower plants and in the gametic cells. That is, in some lower plants and the gametes, the cell wall is absent. Let us see the general structure of a cell wall. The cell wall is basically made up of three layers. They are the middle lamella, the primary wall, and the secondary wall. This diagram here shows all the three layers, which are the middle lamella, the primary, and the secondary wall. For convenience, we will draw it like this. This is a cell. Between the two cells, there is a wall material or a cementing material which binds the cells together. This cementing material is the middle lamella. On either side of the middle lamella, there is another wall laid down. This wall is inner to the middle lamella is the primary wall. On the primary wall, we find the deposition of the secondary wall. Secondary walls are thicker than the primary walls. This is the secondary wall. Almost all the plant cells have the middle lamella, then primary wall. Secondary wall is seen only in mature cells and those cells which are dead and give mechanical support to the plant body. Otherwise, most of the cells, the primary wall is seen, secondary wall is not seen. In certain cases, another layer of wall is laid down towards the secondary wall or inner to the secondary wall, which becomes the tertiary wall. Tertiary wall is not seen in all plants or all the cells. It is seen only in certain cells. Let us see what is the middle lamella made up of. The middle lamella is composed of calcium and magnesium peptides. And what is the meaning of ontogeny of middle lamella? Ontogeny is how the middle lamella is formed and when is it formed. The synthesis of middle lamella. Middle lamella is usually formed at the end of the mitotic phase, that is in the telophase of the cell division. It is formed near the equatorial plate and is called the equatorial plate or the cell plate. The electron microscopic studies have shown that it develops from the fusion of the phragmoblasts. These are complexes of vesicles formed from Golgi apparatus, then microtubules and actin fibers. All this together form a complex and they are responsible for the formation of the cell plate. The phragmoblast from both the sides of the cell migrate to the equatorial plate and come to the center. They merge to form a plate-like structure. This part I'll explain it with a diagram. Between the phragmoplast, the endoplasmic reticulum, fragments of endoplasmic reticulum get embedded and they form pits for plasmodesmatal connections. This colloidal plate, the cell plate which is colloidal, is highly elastic and has proteins and calcium and magnesium peptides. Now I'll explain with the help of a diagram. Let us see how the cell plate is formed. This is the cell. Between the two cells is the middle lamella. We have seen this before. On top of it is the primary wall. I am leaving small gaps here. These are the plasmodesmatal connections which are present in every cell. This is the primary wall, and on top of the primary wall is the secondary wall, or inner to the primary wall is the secondary wall. This we have seen when we learned the basic structure of the layers of the cell. Now our interest is to learn how this middle lamella is formed. It is formed during the telophase of the mitotic cell division. In telophase, two nuclei are formed, they get separated, migrate to the opposite poles, and the cell has to divide. The nucleus has divided, it has migrated to opposite poles. The cell has to divide by separating the cytoplasm. During this condition, the phragmoplast vesicles containing calcium and magnesium peptides, which are formed from the Golgi apparatus, they come and lie towards the equatorial plate. From both the sides, from this cell and this cell, they migrate to the center and lie on the equatorial plate. Along with these phragmoplasts, microtubules and actin fibers also get accumulated near the plate. And fragments of endoplasmic reticulum, that is the endoplasmic reticulum, bits of endoplasmic reticulum, they get embedded between the phragmoplast. These are the phragmoplasts which are laid down in the center, and between the phragmoplast, the endoplasmic reticulum fragments are laid down. Once these phragmoplasts come and lie, they merge with one another and they form a plate-like, a gelatinous plate-like substance layer like this. They form a gelatinous plate, leaving small gaps in between, and these gaps are because the endoplasmic reticulum fragments were embedded. These fragments, they disintegrate after some time, and then the plate appears like this with small gaps in between. These gaps are for the plasmodesmata to pass through. Plasmodesmata are the cytoplasmic strands which are present between the cells, or which pass from one cell to the other cell, and every cell is in connection with the other cell through these plasmodesmatal connections. So this is how the cell plate is formed during the telophase of mitosis. And this plate is highly elastic in its nature and made up of calcium and magnesium peptides, and also have the wall proteins in it. That is what is explained in these sentences which are written here. We have already seen it occurs during the telophase or near the equator. It is formed by the fusion of Golgi vesicles, microtubules and actin fibers. The phragmoplast move to the equatorial plate and they merge with one another to form a plate-like structure. Fragments of endoplasmic reticulum get embedded, and this forms pits which help in plasmodesmatal connection. And this plate, which is colloidal in its nature, is elastic, has proteins, calcium and magnesium peptides. Inner to the middle lamella, on either side of the middle lamella, is the primary wall. The primary wall gets deposited on either side, made up of cellulose, hemicellulose, polysaccharides, and many other peptic substances. It is thin, elastic, and is 1 to 3 microns in its thickness when it is young. It becomes rigid when it matures. It is formed by the secretion of the protoplasm and is composed of cellulose microfibrils. These cellulose microfibrils are held together by hydrogen bonds and they provide the tensile strength to the wall. They are insoluble and are embedded in the matrix of pectin, lignin, and hemicellulose. These are seen in the meristematic cells and in the cambial cells. That is, primary wall is present in meristematic cells and in cambial cells. The reason is meristematic cells are continuously dividing and cambial cells have to divide to form secondary xylem and secondary phloem. Now this part I will explain. If you look at the primary wall under an electron microscope, imagine this to be the middle lamella. On the middle lamella is the primary wall. This whole thing, I'm expanding it and drawing the primary wall. The primary wall has two parts. This is the primary wall. One is the amorphous substance which is formed by pectin, lignin and hemicellulose. This is the amorphous material which is not, these substances are not forming the fibrils, they are just forming the amorphous matrix. Embedded in the amorphous matrix are the fibers. These fibers are the cellulose microfibers. The orientation might be different in different layers. So that is how they form a meshwork or a network forming a mesh-like structure in the primary wall. So this wall is the primary wall which is elastic in its nature and is high tensile strength and is present in the growing and dividing cells. It is thin and elastic during young conditions of the cell but becomes rigid when the cells mature. Now the secondary wall. Inner to the primary wall is the secondary wall. This is also made up of cellulose, hemicellulose, but you also find lignin, suberin, cutin, tannin, waxes and salts like calcium and silica. The thickness of this wall is around 5 to 10 micrometers and they are seen in mature cells. In the young condition, only the primary wall is seen. As the cell differentiates and grows, the secondary wall layers are formed. The microfibrils are aligned in a specific direction in each layer, but this alignment differs from layer to layer. The secondary wall is not simple as primary wall. It is further divided into 3 layers, S1, S2 and S3 layers. Of these 3 layers, S2 layer is considered to be the thickest of all. The secondary wall is found in the dead cells of the vascular tissue and they provide mechanical strength. Now let us see how this is laid. This is the primary wall and all these 3 layers are the secondary wall. That is, when you draw the diagram of a cell, a 2-dimensional diagram, between the cells is the middle lamella. We'll change the ink so that we can differentiate. On the middle lamella, there is the primary wall. the primary wall on the middle lamella on either side. And this part, we have seen that there are cytoplasmic connections from cell to cell, that is plasmodesmata. On the primary wall or inner to the primary wall, we have a secondary wall layer. This is a secondary wall layer. On either side, we have the secondary wall layer. But every cell has a middle lamella, the primary wall and secondary wall. This wall is shown here, or this is the structure of the secondary wall. Now, the secondary wall is all the three layers: secondary wall layer 1, secondary wall layer 2, and secondary wall layer 3. Secondary wall layer 1, how do we differentiate between these three layers? They can be differentiated based on the orientation of the microfibril. Suppose the secondary wall layer microfibrils are like this. Their orientation is like this. They are embedded on the amorphous substance. And the secondary layer is like this in the S1 layer. In the S2 layer, the orientation pattern will be different when compared to this is the orientation pattern in the S2 layer. Again, in the S3 layer, the orientation of the microfibrils will be different. That is how S1, S2 and S3 can be differentiated from one another. So this small thing is enlarged. This diagram also represents the same. This is a primary wall layer where the fibrils are embedded in the amorphous substance. Here is the primary secondary wall layer 1 with orientation in a specific pattern, wall layer 2 or orientation in a different pattern, wall layer 3 orientation in a different pattern. In some cases, there is a tertiary wall on the S3 layer. This tertiary wall is made of a substance called xylan. That's also polysaccharide. So here we see on the secondary wall, a tertiary wall named xylan is present. Now the thickening, secondary wall deposition is not even in all the cells. Usually seen in the complex tissues, in the sclerates or in the fibrous tissues of the dead cells of the xylem tissue, and their deposition is not uniform. The deposition differs. There are different ornamentation on the vessels of the xylem tissue because of the secondary wall deposition. These depositions can occur in different patterns like an annular pattern, spiral, scalariform, reticulate, and in the pitted patterns. Now, this diagram represents annular thickening. In the xylem tissue, the vessels show a secondary wall deposition, which is like this. The deposition the wall layers or the wall material gets deposited like this. Instead of being laid down completely as a uniform layer, it forms rings on the wall. Such deposition is called annular deposition. In some cells, the wall layer is deposited in the form of a spring. Instead of being deposited completely, it forms a spiral arrangement. This is a spiral thickening. In certain cases, the wall deposition is laid down in the form of a ladder. It appears like a ladder. This thickening is called scalariform thickening. In some cases, the vessels show a secondary wall thickening or the cells show secondary wall thickening where it forms a network. This network-like arrangement or deposition of secondary wall is called reticulate thickening. In some cases, the secondary wall deposition occurs in the form of pits, that is, Wall layer is laid down everywhere, leaving small areas. These are called pits. These are simple pits or pitted thickening. If it is bordered pits, the diagram has to be double circles, concentric rings. This represents the bordered pits. So wall layers also can be like this, or thickenings can be like this. So these are the different patterns in which the secondary wall deposition occurs in the cells. Learn about how the cell wall grows. The cell wall grows both in length and in thickness. The growth in length is due to a process called intussusception, and the growth in thickness is because of a process called apposition. Let us see what is intussusception. The cell is small. There is a covering on the outer surface of the cell, which is the cell wall. As a cell increases in its size, the cell expands, and the cell wall, because it cannot hold it anymore, it ruptures. And the gaps which are created are sealed by the cell wall material, which is secreted by the protoplast, forming the complete cell wall. This method of elongation of the cell wall is called intussusception. This helps in the increase in the length of the cell. If the cell wall has to increase in thickness, already there is a cell wall on the outer surface of the cell. Cell wall material starts depositing on the wall, existing wall, which results in an increase in thickness of the cell wall. Like we have primary wall in all the cells, but if secondary wall gets deposited, the thickness increases. Secondary wall layers getting deposited. As the cell matures, the wall layers keep on increasing in thickness. Now let us see the ultrastructure of the cell wall. Electron microscopic studies have revealed that the cell wall cellulose occurs in the form of macrofibrils. The macrofibrils are arranged in a regular fashion. They are about 0.5 microns in thickness and 1 micron in length. These macrofibrils are made up of 2000 microfibrils. Each microfibril is formed from a group of micelles or elementary fibrils. Each micelle in turn is made up of 100 parallelly arranged cellulose chains. Each cellulose chain is a polymer of D-glucose units which are linked by beta-1,4 glycosidic bonds. To summarize, we can say glucose units combine to form cellulose molecules. Cellulose molecules form micelle. Micelles form microfibrils. Microfibrils unite to form macrofibrils, which in turn form the wall layers. Now let us see how many of these units are present in each. 1000 to 3000 glucose units form one glucose chain. 60 such chains form one cellulose chain. 100 cellulose chains combine to form one micelle. 20 such micelles will form one microfibril. 2000 microfibrils will form one macrofibril. This macrofibril is around 0.5 microns in its thickness. 1000 to 3000 glucose units. That is, imagine these to be glucose units. There are 1000 to 3000 glucose units. One chain of glucose will have 1000 to 3000 glucose units. And these chains, 60 such chains will form one cellulose. This is one cellulose unit which has 60 chains of glucose. Each chain of glucose will have 1000 to 3000 glucose units. And 100 such cellulose units, 100 of them, they form one micelle. This micelle has 100 cellulose units, and 20 micelles will form one microfibril. The thickness of the microfibril is 250 angstrom units. One microfibril. 2000 microfibril. Now the chemical composition of the cell wall. Cell wall is made up of polysaccharides, proteins, lignin, hemicellulose, and other compounds, along with mineral deposits. Pectin is one of the major components of the cell wall. It forms the middle lamella and the secondary wall. It is a derivative of polygalacturonic acid. The compound is plastic, it is hydrophilic, and determines the cell wall porosity. There are three classes of pectic polysaccharides that have been classified. They are homogalactronans, rhamnogalactronans, and substituted galactronans. The pectic substances are dissolved in hot water. They are soluble in hot water, and it binds to cellulose microfibrils and helps in cell wall assembly. The next component is the cellulose. It's a major component of cell wall which provides a structural framework to the cell wall. It is the simplest polysaccharide and makes up around 50% of the plant weight. It is a polymer of glucose consisting of 1000 to 10,000 1,4-beta-D-glucose residues. Another component, chemical component, is hemicellulose. Hemicellulose is a non-cellulosic polysaccharide, which includes monosaccharides like arabinose, xylose, mannose, galactose, etc. They don't form or they do not form microfibrils. Instead, they form hydrogen bonds with cellulose fibrils and cross-link them. Lignin also is a component of the cell wall. About 25% of dry weight of the trees is because of lignin. It's a polysaccharide derivative having a complex structure. It is characterized by having aromatic alcohols of high molecular weight. Lignin is primarily a strengthening agent, and it is resistant to fungal attacks. Other substances are suberin, cutin, and wax. A variety of lipids are associated with the cell wall. They are responsible for strengthening of the cell wall. To check evaporation from the plant, cutin forms a continuous layer. It is seen on the cuticle as cuticle on the epidermis of most of the young parts of the plant body. Suberin occurs in the cork tissue as a cork tissue or cork cells in the periderm. That is, when you take a section of a mature stem, you find the epidermis gets ruptured, and instead of epidermis, there is a peridermis. That is, after secondary growth in the cortical region, we find cells formed towards outside, cells formed towards inside. The cells which are formed towards outside, they are highly suberized cells impervious to water. The suberin deposition is seen in this periderm. The functions of the cell wall. The cell wall provides structural and mechanical support. It maintains and determines the cell shape. It gives resistance to internal turbo pressure of the cell. It is permeable, allows circulation and distribution of water, minerals, and other substances into the cell and out of the cell. It controls the rate and direction of growth. It protects against pathogens, dehydration, and environmental factors. It's a source of biological signaling molecules, interaction through plasmodesmata, and some polysaccharides, small polysaccharides, they bind with heavy metals and protect the plants from the stress. The cell wall proteins play an important role in morphogenesis and defense. During fruit ripening and ripening of fruits and vegetables, this process is associated with the changes in the cell wall and its composition. There are a few questions here. You can go through the questions, try to answer them, and all the best.